All right, welcome back to an episode of After Further Review. It's been way too long here, unfortunately, but we're getting to get back on track here.
Incense is everywhere here, Rick. My God, it's just making me cough this whole time.
I think it's that huge joint that you just smoked.
That's what my incense is, right?
Brought to our boys at Going for Two. As always, you guys got some big news recently as well, I hear.
Yeah. We're going to be teaming up with one of the local broadcasters here and covering some things. So, yeah.
Teaming up with Rogers.
Yes, that is the name that we want to use. That's right, yeah. I didn't know how much we've dropped so far. I don't want to get too much into it on that side of things because we're coming right up on the cusp of that whole thing happening. So, but thank you for bringing it up. It's a pleasure seeing you, Rick. I think it's been 6 weeks. I think everything that you could have asked for to happen in an off season has happened now for us in multiple sports. So, what do you want to talk about first, man?
I was sitting here writing my notes, and it's just like there's so much to choose from, to the point where we had to cut some stuff out, really, because we'll cover some hockey and stuff next week. We're gonna kind of skip hockey this week with some of the additions, because we're gonna kind of wait till these arbitrations go down and stuff like that.
And Hellebuck gets traded to the Devils. I mean, that's why we're waiting.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, Hellebuck to the Devils. That would be the missing piece for you, for sure, if you could pull that off. But we're going to start with, the hottest sport right now. Obviously, baseball is the hot topic, just coming off the All-Star break right now. The AL East is just ridiculous. I've never seen a division this tight, this far into a season, where, you go down the list, like Baltimore actually just passed Tampa Bay. If you were to look at games in hand,
yep,
they're actually ranked first right now in the division. And
before we get too far ahead of them, Rick, who was throwing praise Baltimore's way this year so far before the season even started, right?
That's what I just said. I was like, I remember you saying right at the beginning, you really look out for Baltimore this year. I believed you because I saw what they did last year, but I didn't think they were going to be this good.
No.
I didn't think, and at the beginning, Tampa Bay came out of the chute, they were 20 games above everybody, and it was looking like nobody was going to be able to catch them. And then now, it's Tampa Bay is second, and Toronto, is right behind them as well. There was a period of time where I didn't think Toronto was going to have a chance to even catch the division, and now they're only 5 back. So
now I know that obviously the alignments are the way they've been for quite some time. It's usually about how close you are to your divisional opponents and everything here. Obviously, Red Sox fan, you're a Jays fan. Talked to many Jays fans for many years who just wanted to be out of the Yankees and the Red Sox division because of the money, right? Because the Red Sox and the Yankees are willing to spend, kind of thing. Even Tampa was willing to splash a little bit here and there. But then you look at this season, and I got a friend of mine that's saying the Yankees are last in the AL East. They'd probably be fourth in the NL or third or fifth in the NL.
Well, and if you look at the AL Central, they'd be in first place.
Yeah. So then you've got all these.
They have the same record as the Twins right now.
And then
they literally be first.
The poor Orioles that I've just been pumping their tires. It took them long enough to catch up to the division. But it's you kind of look at it and you go, do we just have a bully division all the time forever, or do they finally realign these things a little bit better to make it more competitive? Because it's a freaking crapshoot in the AL East to try and make the playoffs.
It is, but I love how it's changed, though. You're not used to seeing Boston and New York at the bottom. Now, the Red Sox they've been playing good ball lately.
Yeah, they won a few in a row. I mean, we have a stretch to happen after the All-Star break. I am prepared and have had it shoved down my throat that the Blue Jays are going to have quite the stretch here post All-Star break, and I think that we'll talk about it in a little bit, but that may be part of trade dynamic as well, right?
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to get into some trades. Trade talk as well. You know me, one of my favorite players that ever played for the Jays ever was Marcus Stroman. And the rumblings are there, and for him to come back, and he never pitched better than he's pitched for the Jays. He wasn't as good in New York. He's still good, but this year he's having his best year in years. I think he's around a 2.30 ERA, 10-6 last time I checked, maybe 11-6 now. But what a sweet addition that would be to get him back, because when they got rid of him in the first place, I was pissed because he was only fucking 28 years old.
Yeah.
When we got rid of him, and it's he could have been part of this build with all these guys coming up with Vladdy and Bichette and all that.
Yeah.
He could have been a part of this, and for some reason they traded him for fucking nothing.
Yeah, and you know, recently he came out. I mean, I've had my good laugh here with Manoah. I feel bad for you guys when your ace gets sent down
Oh God, I haven't even got to him yet. But
for Simon. Yeah, but you know, with Stroman, he did kind of say, you know, everybody's just kind of laughing off or pushing off Manoah, but this guy's an ace. Like, don't count him out. And you know, not just adding that guy to the team as far as what he brings talent-wise, right? He's also got the history in Toronto. But I think that him openly, already even before being on the team, openly supporting what's supposed to be the team's ace, right? Their young ace. Coming out and saying that, I think that just elevates Manoah's game a little bit further if he was to join him on the club. I think that's a great trade option. I mean, the Jays certainly don't need to be chasing while their home runs are down, and it doesn't look like they're going to match what they did last year. Okay, but it doesn't. They certainly don't need to chase hits. This is a team that can hit. It seems to be in the playoffs that their bats kind of sometimes disappear. But what seems to be the big problem down the stretch is always pitching, right? If you can get somebody who, one, not only has the talent, but two, wants to be on your team. Like the Leafs chase that all the time.
And he's just a great personality, right? Like you know, he was such a fan favorite, and he was my favorite, one of my favorite Jays of all time. Like I had his jersey. Anytime he pitched, I was so invested in it. You know, I just think he'd be absolutely amazing because, you know, we went from, you know, running a 4-man rotation for like 2 months, pretty much, you know, a month and a half when, you know, having to send Manoah down. Now, I'm really concerned about Manoah, like really concerned. Like, you know, I know at first everyone's like, oh, you know, you got to go work it out, like this and that. He had 2 starts. The first one he got lit up for like 11 runs against rookies, not even in single A. And then, you know, he goes the next time and I think he still gave up 4 runs or something in his second start. Yeah. Like, and then, you know, they do him a huge favor by bringing him up and letting him pitch against the Tigers, you know, and he gets 7 strikeouts. Everybody's feeling good. Everyone's all high. It's like, well, relax. He's playing the fucking Tigers. The Tigers suck, and they brought him up for that. Now he went against a good lineup in the Padres the other night, which I don't understand. The Padres are 5 games below 500. That is absolutely fucking disgusting with that lineup and that payroll. It is completely unacceptable. But you see what they can do when we played them the last 2 games.
Yeah.
Like fucking Joe Musgrove was amazing. He's a great pitcher. You know, Blake Snell, we beat them, you know, 4-0 today. He still pitched well. Like their pitching is good, but I just don't understand. But either way, Manoah he just couldn't do it.
Well, maybe I'll help calm your expectations there about that first start. I had somebody point out to me, and then I kind of bounced it off one of my baseball buddies, and they kind of verified it. But, you know, that first start when he got lit up for 11 pitches, after he gets sent down for assignment like that, sometimes what happens, and you can probably relate to this, you know, playing golf as an example, right? You do things that are exaggerated to try and get back to your normal process, right? So that first and even that second start, they kind of said he may be going through the motions, trying new technique, but also exaggerating his current technique to kind of get back and like throwing it looser rather than trying to hone it, just throwing it loose to try and get back into that rhythm to start off with. It's a surprise. I mean, nobody expected this guy to completely disappear, or not disappear, but to play the way he did to start the season. And then that 11 run, I mean, I just said to the guy, like, I get what you're saying, but that's just adding insult to injury when he gets designated and then gets hit with 11 runs off a bunch of kids. That's not cool. The guy made the fucking All-Star last year.
He was second in Cy Young voting.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and it's, but, you know, the thing is it's all mechanics. You know, and his release point is way off. He can't, like, even in that Detroit game, he missed his spots several times. He just got
very long release this year.
Well, it's too late every single time. He's not hitting it there, and his velocity's way down. Like even last year when he was only throwing 94, it looked quick. It was like, you know, some pitchers, even though they're only throwing 93, 94, it gets there quick.
Well, right, and now, that's what I was going to say with the long release, how long it's taking to get there. Part of that, from what I think what I read somewhere on Reddit, of course, but it was about the fact of how far his arm is out from his body versus it being how tight it should be, and that's making that longer pitch.
Well, you can tell when he's throwing a slider. You can see it.
Oh,
like you can see his whole, and that's why nobody's fucking swinging at the slider, because you can tell he's throwing it. Like it's like he's literally side arming the slider, you know. And the fastball, it's just like I said, it looks like everybody can see what he's doing. And like when the pitch comes in, it's almost like you're playing MLB, the show, and you can actually just sit there and wait and look where the ball's going to be before you swing. Instead of, a lot of good hitters, they're guessing where the pitcher's throwing, and they're not. A lot of these guys aren't reading and reacting on 95-mile fastballs and up. They're
just
taking
have
a
really
shot.
good hand-eye coordination, right? Like a lot of them really do.
Oh, it's amazing. But it's like Manoah. Everything he throws, he has no out pitch right now.
Yeah,
he has no strikeout pitch, and that's what's killing. And the umpire did fuck him in the ass real bad as well in that game. Like he missed a good few calls early in that game that the ball was right on the strike zone, and he wouldn't give him, like, right before Soto hit the home run, he had a strikeout on him, and he didn't call it, and then sure enough, fucking next pitch, he jacks it. So it just the guy's really struggling now. Hyun-Jin Ryu is starting AAA Buffalo tomorrow, and he already looked good in his first rehab start. This is a big deal. Like, this guy's a good pitcher. Mm-hmm. Like, he's not like, he's not the best, but he was an ace, and he has pitched well for us when he has been in the lineup, and he's kind of been a forgotten guy at this point. And he's a left-handed as well, which is huge. Like, we need a left-handed pitcher. We don't really have it. So
yeah,
kind of excited to see it, because at that point, if we go out and get Stroman, say, and we get Ryu back, well, Manoah might end up find himself in the minors for the rest of the year, because it's to the point now where it can't just be a good feel-good story and hope this guy gets his shit together. Like, he's costing us games, and it's too tight now to just be like, oh, go out there and give it your best shot again, and hopefully you figure it out tonight. Like, it can't be like that. So I hope to God that he does figure it out, but it just doesn't look encouraging. And I think he looks way overweight. Like, I know he's a big guy, but he doesn't look as in good a shape as he was last year. Like, it just is, even the way he's sweating, and like, it's just like the guy was, he threw 32 pitches in the first inning the other day, and the guy looked like he threw 9 innings after that. Yeah. So, just want to touch real quick. Never thought that we'd have Whit Merrifield as an all-star, right? But reality is he did make the all-star game, and he has been pretty much our most consistent hitter at this point, right, lately. So you would never guess that. But if you look at I have this thing here. If you look at his last 8 games, he's batting 400, 407 with 11 hits, 4 home runs, and 10 RBIs.
Wow!
And he's playing left field. He's playing second base. The guy plays everywhere. So he's been a real saving grace for us.
Yeah, and so you mentioned it there, the All-Star game, and I want your take on. I really enjoyed the home run derby.
I was going to mention that too.
The sad about that little kid getting smoked by a 115-mile-an-hour ball by Vladimir Guerrero. I think it's kind of unique that the kids get to be out there, but certainly I think there needs to be a talent level and maybe a size limit to be out there before these kids can even pick off that 115-mile-an-hour fastball. Now here's my thing. Okay, so I do want some changes in the home run derby. I would really like to go back to the outs. I'm done with this whole timed shit and taking timeouts and then getting an extra 30 seconds and all that shit. I'm done with it. I'm over it. Give me the outs. And then on top of that, as cool as it is for the old timers to be able to throw the ball, I'm done seeing these batting coaches throw the ball for the home run derby. There are some guys that got, like poor what's his face from the Mets? I can't remember. Alonso. He gets screwed. His pitcher was terrible. Like, it's just not his fault that he couldn't be able to keep up with Julio because his pitcher was brutal. Put the machine out. Yeah. Just give this a standardized throw down the middle. Like, this is ridiculous that we're still playing with human error at the All-Star game in the home run derby. We're there to see home runs. Like, that the people go to this experience to go and hopefully see or collect a ball in the outfield versus seeing a 72-year-old guy pitch sliders. Like, give me a frickin' break, man.
They should have the option, I think. I think some guys, no matter what, some guys.
That's fine. I mean, I give the option. Some guys, fault the player, right? But
some guys, they have their favorite guys, and some guys are money at it. Like, there are some guys that can just consistently just throw that perfect right down. Like, I don't know if you remember when Robinson Cano won the All-Star or the home run derby years back.
Yeah, lob balls down the middle, man. Knuckleballs.
The guy didn't miss once. Like, they were just perfect over the plate. I think it was. I'm not sure if it was his dad or if it was his old baseball, like his high school coach or some shit like that. But he was on fire. Like, and that, if you get you're comfortable with a guy. which is funny because Pete Alonso's guy's been amazing. The guy's won this thing 2 times.
Oh yeah, but see, this
And
is the
then
thing.
all of a
That
sudden-
wasn't his normal guy, Rick. His normal guy.
Oh, was it? I didn't realize that.
No, it was like the night before, or even the day of. I think that he found out, so he never even had time to actually practice with this guy, and that's what I'm talking about. It's like human error, not only just at the game, but what can happen up to the game, and suddenly you don't have your pitching guy. It's just silly. Again, you're there to see home runs, and like that also, like, give me the juiced balls. You give me fucking juiced balls all last year, the second half of the season, so that Aaron Judge should get the record. And don't tell me you didn't, MLB. And don't tell me for the last 3.5 years you haven't been playing with juiced balls and non-juiced balls through the regular season. Now we hit the home run derby. Give me juiced balls. If a kid or a guy hits a line drive, I want it to hit the fucking outfield. I want it to be a home run.
Hey, I've always said, why not give it a try one time with metal bats? Like I think it would be so fun to watch that with aluminum bats.
I like that
Like,
idea.
like, could you imagine?
Well,
like,
no,
they'd be
here's
like
an
600
idea
foot home
for it.
runs.
It's just like
Yeah.
the Globetrotters, right? Where you do like the 5 balls, and then on the 5th ball or whatever, it's a softball, and it comes in softball lob, you know? Boom!
Yeah, oh, exactly. I think it'd be great. I don't know if you heard, but there's just been proposed an old timers home run derby at next year's home run,
So,
and they said, that Ken Griffey would be in it, Albert Pujols, which isn't really fair because he just retired, but a Big Papi, and Jim Thome.
Yeah.
These are 4 guys that said they would be in, and hey, I think it'd be cool. Like, I honestly think these guys wouldn't be able to last. I'd rather see them on like
after
an
that
out system,
one-
like you said.
I was going to say, after that one, there's no way the MLB can deny juice balls because you're not giving these guys regular balls and expect them to still hit it out in the stands, man, right?
Well, I bet you Griffey could do it still, but he's not going to do it a whole bunch
He
of
might
times.
be the
guys
only
are
one of
gonna
that
be tired,
group.
right?
Maybe Pujols, because he only just retired, but...
Yeah, but hey, I bet you Papi could still smash him. Fuck yeah.
Homie got shot 2 years ago.
I'm just saying, I know, but I don't think they're going to be able to do it. That's why I'd like to see an out system for those guys instead of doing a time, right? Do a 10 out system with them or something like that. That way, they're not swinging for 5 minutes straight. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah,
but I just think that'd be so cool. That's like,
well, and then the release time, they talked about that too. It was like with the one pitcher, the guy was doing it within 1.5 seconds, and the other pitcher was doing it 3.5 seconds. The countdown, you get screwed that way too. It's just a terrible experience, I think, with this countdown timer. It does add a little bit of,
I don't mind the 540 or the 440 home runs, an extra 30 seconds for hitting 2 of those. That's the only thing I would keep. That's it. But yeah, I totally agree with you. I miss the old days, the way they used to do the home run derby. But
so if you hit 440 now, because they won't have time if you do the 30 seconds, maybe they give them a beach ball.
Yeah, there you go, or a softball or something like that.
I mean, softball throw. The Globetrotters.
Speaking of home runs, though, I just want to touch on this stat real quick that I found recently, comparing Babe Ruth and Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
And obviously for us, we've never seen Babe Ruth play, but whether it was 1920 or it was 2020, it's just still impressive that you can be a pitcher that consistently and be able to hit the ball. And, these have this stat here. This is both after 674 games. So Babe Ruth had 159 home runs in his first 674 games. Shohei Ohtani has 160 home runs in his 674 games. One different. And his in his first 455 innings pitched, Shohei is 35-19, and Babe Ruth was 35-18. So how ridiculous is that they're literally identical numbers with one off on both? And this is something we've never seen since then. Probably never thought we'd be able to see it again. And it just feels so bad for the guy. The guy just does so much for this team every single night. And they're not now with Mike Trout out. They're obviously definitely not going to make the playoffs. And that, buds the question, right? Like, this guy's going to get traded. We know it.
Yeah.
But where is he going to go? Who is it going to be? Because obviously the Yankees would be like.
Nah, the Yankees, with them being in last place now, I know that they're still in last with a winning record. I just don't see them making a push for a guy who.
If George Steinbrenner was alive, you're damn right they would.
Yeah.
He would have fired everybody already. He would have fired everybody by now.
Yeah.
You know what? This is the first time the Yankees have been in last place after the All-Star break in their division since 1990.
Was it 9? I thought it was earlier than that. I thought it was like the 60s.
No, it's 1990. There were some bad teams there in those late 80s and early 90s teams before Jeter and all those guys came. But
So
crazy.
Okay, so where do you think he lands? I got one team. I read about it today. I knew this question was going to get asked, and the team makes total sense. I don't know. I don't get the players because I don't know prospects in baseball very well. But go ahead. Who you think it may be?
Yeah. Well, obviously everybody thought he was going to go to the Dodgers, but they've come out and said clearly they won't.
No way.
Dodgers,
Padres,
so.
no way.
Yeah.
They said that
if he goes to the Padres, I am not watching.
No, they already said he's not. The same thing. They basically nixed. No Padres, no Dodgers. You're not getting them.
Obviously you can wish and hope, and hope that the Jays just somehow pull off. Like if they right now, if you said
they're in the betting odds
for Shohei, yeah, I know. Like if you could say I trade you Bo Bichette for Shohei Ohtani right now and prospects, would you do it? Like
of course you're competing against other teams for offers and stuff, but you know what? I got to be honest. I don't think this even comes down to big league players being traded for Shohei. I think this comes down to straight up prospects being traded for Shohei. I think right now their back is against. You got to
get something. You got to have somebody to fill one of those spots. You're not only losing a batter, you're losing a pitcher.
I get you. And that being said, there's lots of good prospects that in every position you can plug and play. But here's my thing: their back is against the wall. This guy's a free agent. You've got to get something for him. He's not sticking around. You have to get whatever you can possibly get for him, and sometimes that might be a bag of prospects.
Yeah,
I just don't think most teams are doing that. They're just not going to give up a Bo Bichette. They're going to straight up say, "Fuck you! I'll give you a few draft picks and a 9 prospect players, but you're not getting Bo because Bo's going to be part of my trade package next year."
No, I hear you. I'm just saying that's the only thing I'm just trying to throw it out there. As in, I would pretty much trade anything for him.
Oh, okay. You're jumping off the board. Okay.
Oh yeah, and Bo leads the league in hits.
Yeah.
So this guy is a hitting machine. And that's what's disappointing about the Jays sometimes right now is they got so many good hitters, but they can't never seem to put it all together at once.
Mm-hmm.
It's either one guy's hitting or somebody else is hitting. And, why the hell is Brandon Bell still batting third? Like, what the fuck are you doing, John Schneider? Like, why is Brandon Bell batting third? I don't care that he's left-handed, and I don't understand what's wrong with Varsho. This guy fucking blows. Like, he is so great in the outfield, and he's statistically one of the best. Him and Kevin Kiermaier have the best out percentage in the majors right now as fielders. It's crazy. So he's great that way, but the guy doesn't even keep his eye on the ball ever. It's just like, what are you doing? So I'm frustrated with him.
Where your hope is, and then where's the second? Because I know you would pick that as a homerism. So where's your next play?
Yeah.
Let's say you're a homer. I'm just saying that naturally you have to pick your
own
team.
No, for
especially
sure.
when they're in the betting odds.
Like you got to think he's going to stay in the American League. Like if he's not going to the Dodgers, but going to a team like Atlanta. Like if you went to a team like. But Atlanta, like if you went to Atlanta, like holy, I would just put them over the top.
Well, then I guess I thought you were going to say another team. So I guess I got really 2 teams. I got one in the AL and one in the AL for you there. In the NL, I think that he has made it known that he enjoys Seattle as a city, that he enjoys being there. He spends a couple of off seasons there. I
didn't hear about Seattle. Yes, and the whole Ichiro thing.
That could certainly be the play there. They've got the prospects to make it happen. They've got Julio there, which is it's just the same idea as partnering Shohei with Trout. Now it's going to be Shohei with Julio, right, and a bunch of other really good players too.
Yeah.
But here's the team, man. The team that I told you to watch out for in the beginning of the season is the team that I think you need to watch out for at this trade deadline. The Baltimore Orioles, sorry, I almost said the Ravens. This team is so deep with prospects that probably aren't going to be able to see the field with how well this young team is playing already. And they have the ability to give up the type of players that they need in return in order to get Shohei. Could you imagine Shohei Ohtani landing in the AL East, but not for the Yankees, Red Sox, or the Jays, but for the Baltimore Orioles, Rick? I really think this is something you got to watch out for.
There's no way he's going from LA to Baltimore.
Why not?
Just city-wise, just geographically. I can't see him doing it. I can't see him wanting to leave that side of the West Coast to go play in a shithole city like that. And
that's one of the most beautiful parks in all of the MLB. That city may suck, but that is a beautiful park.
Yeah, if you like, sure. Yeah, but I just don't see it. I think even just for him, just being close to Japan as well. For some reason, I don't see him going there. But if he did, that'd be extremely dangerous. But yeah, Seattle, like I said, I did hear that as well. Now, I just want to mention a couple more quick things about baseball here. I saw a really cool story. Entering his junior season, 1994, Todd Helton, remember Todd Helton, the hitter for Colorado? He was the starting quarterback for the Tennessee Volunteers his backup was Jerry Colquitt, and the third string was Peyton Manning. And apparently Todd Helton got hurt the first game of the season. The very next game, that Colquitt guy tore his ligaments in the second or third game, and Peyton Manning took over, and the rest of that was history. So I thought that was pretty cool.
That is very neat. And I also heard a pretty fun story about young Carlos Stanton from one of his high school mates. That this guy was a fantastic tight end, an amazing football player, and he also played safety as well. And then, so the guy thought he was going to definitely be professional. Like the high school mate's telling this story, and he said, "Yeah, I know this guy's going to be professional. He's definitely going to be playing, football somewhere. This guy's going to go." And then football season ended, and right when football season ended, basketball season picked up. And this guy's a power forward. I'm going, holy shit, this guy's going to make it. He's going to go to the NBA. He's going to be a power forward. And then I start talking to my friends, I find out because the big school, find out who this guy is, because baseball season's around the corner. And they say, "Hey, do you guys know about this guy who's an amazing baseball player?" And I look over, and it's this guy who's good at everything. I know he's going to make it to the MLB, I said. So pretty funny. That, it's just like, you got a 1 in 3 shot at making the pro leagues, apparently, for Stanton.
Well, and I remember his name used to be Mike Stanton.
that's the thing. He goes, I knew when he was Mike in high school.
So that was funny. But I also saw a thing that Tony Gonzalez actually played for the Miami Heat in 2000 in the summer league, and he averaged eight points a game and like 7 boards.
Wow.
And Pat Riley at the time said if he wanted to stay, he's like, we would give him a roster spot.
I wish that story would have been Antonio Gates, because I've always wondered, for a guy who never played football and then picked it up after his basketball career ended there in college, what he would have been able to do if he just went and farted around back in a summer league like that, just farting around the guys.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it'd be fun to see some of these guys in different sports, but got to move on from baseball. But I did want to mention, I did tell you that kind of last night, but hearing that stat that Tony Gwynn, we all know Tony Gwynn, over 3,000 hits. Guy was just a hitting machine, and he, in his career, because he played for the Padres, he faced Maddox, Glavine, and Smoltz a lot. And I guess between those are all Hall of Fame pitchers. I think they said he faced them combined 238 times in his career, and he struck out 3 times.
Wow.
3 fucking times to 238 at bats. So that's pretty ridiculous.
All I'm going to say, I'm just going to petition it here. It's going to happen probably every time we talk about baseball now. I want Bonds and Rose in the Hall of Fame. I know it's never going to happen. I want it. I'm petitioning. I saw that Manfred's getting signed to another extension there to be the MLB commissioner. I think that as a group, we start the wave now, that if he wants another role or another reign of this when the contract comes up, that those guys got to get into the HOF.
You know what? Again, Barry Bonds, it'll never happen.
No,
but Pete Rose, it should happen. Pete Rose, all he did was bet on his own team to win.
Well, he's done. I think he has officially made it to the point that he can't get in, right? He's done so many years that he can't make it anymore, or something like that too. That's why I'm saying. I know these guys.
It would have to be an exception.
Yeah,
it would have to be an exception they would make. But they do belong there. But people that don't belong in the Hall of Fame right now are the Oakland A's. They're on pace for 120 losses this year. Which will be historic, and we all know that Vegas, the Raiders, are getting a brother, because they're going to be moving on up there real soon. 120 losses. That Moneyball shit ain't working out right this year.
Well, at this point, are the players protesting alongside the fans? I don't even know. It's almost like they're not exactly trying to lose. I've watched a couple of their games in the offside.
Oh yeah, no, they were looking up for a while there. I think they won 5 out of 6. I think about a month ago.
Yeah,
and then now they've just lost 13 in a row again. So
that's no good.
Yeah, it's tough to watch, but I'll move along from baseball. Lots to cover there, but I do want to talk about golf a little bit here. We haven't been able to talk since the PGA and the LIV merger happened, which was a complete mind blow to everybody. I remember waking up and checking that on my phone. There was no.
The players found it from Twitter too.
There was no rumors. There was no nothing. These are two people that hated each other, going back and forth, and then all of a sudden you wake up and they're merged, and it's just all I think about right away is all these guys that didn't take the money. How fucking dumb do you feel now that you would have literally just been back on the PGA in a year?
Was it Matsuyama, Hideki? Hideki was going to get $950. The rumor was between $900 and $1 billion to go and play, and he turned it down, right? He's the biggest face of Asian golf there is.
Like I heard Tiger was offered 750.
Yeah, no, but this guy was offered more because he is like the face of it. Like that whole region of right now is bigger with this player than he is with Tiger. I'm pretty sure it's Matsuyama.
Oh, you're talking about Matsuyama, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking about Matsuyama.
No.
Well, there's a lot of guys. You know, Rory was offered a shit ton. He says he wasn't offered.
He says he wasn't offered a dime, but I think he's a liar. And Rory's my favorite player. I feel bad for the guy. I am happy that he did come out and say that he felt like he was a bit of a scapegoat. I think that it's a little bit of pandering to go and make a Team Tiger and Team Rory. I think that's just a little bit of bullshit there.
Good for Rory, man. He stood up for his league, and he wasn't a traitor. Like I love what he did. Like,
what I'm saying is I'm proud of Rory. I think that it's a slap in the face to Rory from the PGA to be like, oh, you know what though? We're gonna make you we're gonna make you the captains. Like it's pandering. You screwed him. You hung him out to dry. Unfortunately, of all the people that should have known before the Twitter first found out about it, it should have been somebody like Rory. I think that's terrible, unfortunately. But I am excited to see what this means for golf. It's another unfortunate sacrifice that I don't think really should have happened was Greg Norman. This guy getting the axe. I cannot believe that Liv allowed this agreement to come into play and say, yeah, you know, if you merge with us, we'll axe Greg Norman. Only because, you know, Greg Norman said what he said about against the PGA. But this was Norman's baby.
They were just looking for a reason to get rid of him.
Yeah, but this was Norman's baby. Like this was his thing. Like he was the face. He was the spokesperson. I think, again, talking about slaps in the face, this guy did everything you asked him to do for your league. He talked shit to the opposing league when it needed to happen and probably pushed this merger to happen along the way. And now it's like, get out of here. I'm sure he gets a nice little severance payday, but that's not the point. You know what I mean? That's not how he's 20 years from now, nobody's going to remember Greg friggin' Norman started this.
Well, and, you know, also, like, this Jay Monahan guy just comes out looking like flowers. You know?
How?
It's just like, you just screwed everybody. Like, you just screwed everybody. Like, I don't understand.
Including like the Golf Network. I totally drawing blank right now, but Bryson Chambly or Chambly.
DeChambeau.
No, not Bryson DeChambeau. The analyst. I can't remember Chambly or whatever. But he.
Okay.
This guy has said some ruthless things against Liv in the face of PGA, trying to be the face on the Golf Network, and he gets hung out to dry too. Terrible, brutal. But you know,
I just don't understand how it's going to work. You know, it's just like you know. I don't know if you've actually watched Liv, but it's really exciting. I love watching. I actually enjoy watching it more than PGA. I love the team thing. I think that's so cool because, you know, even if you're at the bottom and you're not in contention, it still gives you something to play for, and it's keeping these guys competitive, and every shot still matters. And I love the teams. I love the names. I love how they have their uniforms. Like, I think it's just really cool how they've kind of like totally changed the way the game is played. Yeah. And now you're going to join together, and it's like, what are you going to do? You're just going to they're just joining, and it's just going to be the PGA like it normally is, or are we going to still have events like this? Are we still going to have team events, like stuff like that? Because I really like what Liv was doing. I love the music in the background. Like, it just makes it so much more enjoyable to watch golf. And for me, if Tiger isn't playing, it's been hard for me to transition to wanting to watch golf when Tiger's not playing. Because it's just for me, it's just always been the most exciting thing is to watch Tiger play golf. And now when he's not, it's like Liv. I find myself interested in guys that I could care less about, just because it's exciting. And you know, anybody that thought they were going to have a hard time competing on majors because they're not playing as much, well, that hasn't been the case. Because you know, a lot of people that are on Liv have been in contention right down to the finals in pretty much every major. And I think not playing as much golf could be a good thing. If you're playing too much golf, you know, you burn out.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't know. It's cool. I'm glad it did happen because to me, it sucked to have such a divide in talent on these two tours. You know, it's like when you watch one or the other, like there's just so much star power that's not there.
Yeah. And
it is great for the game in that case that, you know, they're coming back together, but. It's an interesting thing, but you know, British Open is this weekend.
Well, before you go, did you get a chance to watch any of the Scottish Open? The wins, my man. Holy hell! There was a guy who hit a 235-yard pitching wedge. Like Rory hit Rory hit a 450-yard drive when he caught the wind. It was incredible. This is a guy who's won now the Irish, the Scottish, and the British Open. He's done it all.
And the Canadian.
And the Canadian Open, yeah. But I was talking about the British Isles. Like, he's been able to conquer the British Isles, which is awesome. British Open, you mentioned, is this weekend. What are you looking for? There's some I didn't even know this until I started reading up on what was going on at the course this week. So what are you looking forward to?
Terrible weather we're looking at. They said they're either getting rain or more rain.
Yeah,
That's what the forecast was. So, with this one, it's interesting because I love Rory too, and Rory's always been one of my favorites. Along with Ricky Fowler. Shout out Ricky Fowler, finally getting it done. Looking great lately.
I thought he was going to be Sergio.
Got Butch Harmon in there. Swings better. The putting looks better. He doesn't look goofy anymore with his stupid outfits. And,
he's got the hottest putter on the market, man. Odyssey had to remake a putter from 2007 or 2015 or something like that, the Jailbird putter.
Yeah.
You heard this? You hear about that?
No, I didn't hear about that, no.
So, buddy, I got to tell you this story. So he goes out with somebody's caddy for a golf game.
Yep.
Sees this guy's putter. Again, it's a Jailbird putter or whatever. It's got an extra 120 grams of lead tape on the back of it. It's got one of those long-ass, wrist-locking shaft or grips on it. So he goes to Odyssey, says, I need you to make this for me. And he says, Odyssey goes and makes it for him. He does the exact replica, 120 grams or whatever. He wins. The following winner, do you remember who that guy was? I can't. Was it Wyndham or whatever his name is?
Oh, Wyndham Clark. Yeah,
Wyndham Clark. Do you know what Wyndham Clark's putter was? The same putter that he went out putting around with Ricky Fowler after he won that Open and said, holy shit, this thing is really awesome. I got to get one made for my own. So he got one made for himself, and he won the very next weekend. So then Odyssey, we had these putters, bro. They were like the $150 putters, if you could find them used before. They were going for $3,500, Rick. It was the biggest blow up. Now, Odyssey has finally come back. They're going to completely remake it and release a brand new putter in this model. It's the hottest trend right now. It's a mallet putter with just a whole bunch of lead tape on the bottom. It's crazy looking anyway. But yeah, shout out to Ricky Fowler. Shout out to Wyndham Clark for that too, which is really neat back-to-back weekends, same putter.
Yeah, not even just being a fluke. Like Ricky Fowler's been in top 10, a good 5 tournaments in a row, I think, at this point. So really looking for him. Cool to see Tommy Fleetwood in the lead after round 1, obviously, being a local boy. And I think we got Spieth, Koepka, Scheffler, all in the top 10. Rory shot even. Leaders at -5 right now. So
he did shoot. I think he was at through 7. He was even. So even day, huh?
He shot even. It's funny. The last person to win a major while winning the tournament before. Roy McIlroy. Sorry, it was Roy McIlroy. He was the last person to do that. So it's a tall feat to win. A tournament. Tiger used to do it all the time. But usually when you win the week before, it's a bad omen because it's like, well, am I really going to win 2 tournaments in a row?
Yeah.
But Roy McIlroy was the last one to do it, and the last time he won a major was at this golf course at Royal Liverpool. So to think it's been 9 years since Roy McIlroy won a major is just crazy. When you see the picture of him winning that, he looks like a little boy. When he still had his
curly hair still.
The curly hair, like his face was so baby. It's just crazy because he really did disappear there for a few years when he switched clubs and he switched tours and it wasn't the same. But it seems like he's really gotten it together. They were showing the comparisons of his swing 3 years ago to now to back in 2013 or whatever it was when he won. And his swing now is so much closer to what it was then. And it just goes to show what you were talking about with over-exaggerating stuff, where all you needed to you were hitting the ball the best you've ever hit it when you were 20 years old, 21, and then all of a sudden you start changing shit throughout those years for some fucking reason, I don't know, because you have a couple bad terms, you think you got to change everything, and you forget what your basics and what made you win in the first place.
I had an old timer one time tell me that exaggerated swing thing with regular golf. He said you've got to swing silly sometimes to feel what you're doing wrong, right? You over exaggerate your action and then begin to hone it, and you can start feeling what you're doing incorrect, right? So, Now you talked about Tiger. There was what I'm looking for this weekend. And again, I didn't know this until I started reading about it. But famous coach Pete Cowan. He's coached Tiger. He's coached Spieth on the tour. Many players anyway. Hole 17 got completely redone for this tournament. Okay, the first time in many years they've completely flipped it around. It's an infinity green, which means that it will roll any frigging direction. There's no real read on that green. And what his quote was about it was, "I hate it. It's going to ruin somebody's career." And what he means by that is that it's going to get somebody is. It's already a hard enough game as it is on the British Open. Why do you have to make it harder by adding things like an infinity green, playing into the wind on that hole, like flipping it around as they have, tightening it up like they've done? It's a very it's a 120-yard par 3, Rick. If I'm talking to you about this, you're going, oh, it's 120 yards, it's a pitching wedge, man. I'll fucking hit it. But an infinity green means it's a second that ball hits, unless you've got that ridiculous amount of spin, which these pros, of course, do, right? You are rolling whatever direction it's going to hit that green on. Right, it's a very difficult hole to add on 17 of all, especially when you're talking about what could potentially be a playoff hole. To have that as a playoff hole, because they always work in reverse, right? I don't know, challenging nonetheless. I think that's one thing I'm looking for. Obviously, cheering my boy Rory on.
Sorry, I gotta grab my cell phone charger. I didn't realize my phone's almost dead.
Oh, jeez, you leave me hanging out to dry here, do you?
I know, I feel terrible. But I'd rather that than my phone die and then me leave you completely here. But what I was going to say, I was really surprised to see the leader be at -5 today. I didn't expect the score to be that low.
Yeah, after day one.
I haven't got a chance to watch any of the highlights yet, though, to see what the weather was really like.
I didn't get a chance to watch it either, but and that's too, right? That's Tommy Fleetwood. I mean, Tommy Fleetwood's got one of the most pure strokes in all of golf, but that he's tied with Grillo and with an amateur, eh? That's pretty neat.
Yeah, well, exactly. I know that one amateur at the U.S. Open too. Remember that the Club Pro?
Yeah.
I forget what his name was, but yeah, like that was so cool, man. Like Club Pro, and the guy won like what $300,000.
Yeah, and I thought it was ridiculous. Any hate that this guy took after that from people saying that he was riding too much of a wave and da-da-da. I'm like, listen, pal, if any one of you folks got the opportunity that he got and did what he did, including a hole-in-one during the tournament, you would have rode whatever absolute wave
that
came
was
after
so
that.
cool, too.
Yeah, I mean,
speaking of hole-in-one, Steph Curry doing that the other day, like, that was really cool, too, man. He hit that eagle putt to win. That was like the guy could clearly golf.
The guy walked it off before it was even in the hole, Rick. He did the Tiger Woods.
It was so cool, man. The guy's just so talented. I don't know if you watched the match at all with him. Klay Thompson. Like, man, it's too bad because Klay Thompson was awful. But, I don't know. I lost a lot of respect for Patrick Mahomes when I watched that. Like, he was just such a little bitch, and just his actions and like talking when people are putting and like, hate to see it. Like, he repeats himself all the time. He's so fucking annoying, and he played like shit. And if it wasn't for Travis Kelce, they would have their ass kicked. I can't believe how good Travis Kelce was. Like, he was on
and what
fire.
also I can't believe is how well Travis Kelce pretended to be drunk in that little interview, and then played it up.
Yeah, well, did you see Mahomes is doing a shotgun on the first hole? Yeah. He's got a fucking 15-pack in his cart. I was like, holy shit, this guy's just getting wasted. He obviously can't handle his alcohol because he had a few beers and he was just getting loose at the lips, But I just want to shout out top Canadian at Brisbane right now is Corey Connors at +2. Speaking of Canadians, how cool was that? Nick Taylor winning the Canadian Open. Like, what a sweet moment that was
72-foot putt.
For Canadian golf. So, yeah, 72-foot putt. That was just insane. So, yeah, looking forward to watching that this weekend. Hopefully Rory can get it together. I'd love to see him when he's been so close so many times recently. And, it's time for him to win another major. That's for sure.
I like what you're cooking over there, Rick.
Yes. All right. Well, we'll just touch on this briefly. I do want to talk about Wimbledon that just passed because, a couple big deal, this Alcaraz guy, Carlos Alcaraz, was ranked number 1 going into this tournament, even though Djokovic beat him in the finals in the previous one. So it was kind of odd, but he proved that it was correct because, for the first time in forever, really, Djokovic looked vulnerable and beatable. And, we've been watching him for years, and we used to think Federer was the best. Like, this guy makes Federer, not even look like he's way above Federer now, as far as I'm concerned. And this kid beat him. Beat him clean. So it was impressive.
And on grass, right? I mean, it's a different game. I don't watch a lot of tennis, but I did get the opportunity to actually watch some of this tournament, only because there were some fun things that happened. I mean, Wimbledon TikTok, be damned. They showed me some cool things. They do a lot of cool stuff interacting with the fans at Wimbledon, bringing them on the court and having some fun with them and shit like that. It's a really cool weekend, right? So I got the chance to watch it. I thought what was really interesting watching from day one and then not watching it for a couple of days and picking it up a few days later was, the grass was very fresh day one, and there was a lot of slip and slide, it felt like. And then when you get to day 3 and 4 and it's all brown, and along the path that they're running, right? You could see the grip kind of driving in there. It was just interesting how fresh that grass was to start the tournament. You feel that it would already be worked in, because some people, unfortunately, they bid it because of not being able to take the grip, right?
Oh, for sure. And, I also, I was pointing out to Jen the other day when I was watching, if you're one of those, people that are playing on one of those side courts to start, and then you work your way to the middle court, it looks like those courts play totally different.
Very different, yeah.
Because, there's a lot of activity going on in those center courts, and there isn't as much going on in those side courts, and it just feels like the ball bounces way more on those side courts.
Oh, I thought it was kind of different, in the sense that there was way more fluff on the side court, so it was a slower game to me, I felt, than on those middle courts. It felt like the game sped up as you got to the middle for me.
Yeah, no, for me, I felt like I just felt because of how rough the grass got in the other one, it was kind of killing it a little bit, but you could be right. I just didn't notice a considerable difference between the two, whether it was slower or faster on either one. But on the women's
could you
side,
return a professional serve? I've seen this done a few times now on a few different socials now, because Wimbledon was on every talking about it, trying to return, over 100-mile-an-hour serve. You think you could do it?
No.
No?
I think maybe. Man, remember Pros versus Joes?
Yeah.
When they did that one time, they had tennis on there, and the other guys trying to return it. They thought it would be no problem. They couldn't do it.
No.
I could probably get my racket on it, but as actually return it over the net and in play, I don't think so.
No,
maybe.
no. Yeah, I'd get my racket on it too, because that's what they had done with some guy. They had from the stands. He was commenting, and they bring him out and they get him in the girls. Tycho's girls playing, so they get him in the girls' shirt and the girls' skirt, and he has to return it. He ends up returning it a couple of times, not well, of course, way up in the air kind of thing. But regardless, I don't even know if I'd be able to do that. I have never. I think maybe a handful of times swung a tennis racket, so I'm not really counting myself in.
Me and Mitch used to piss around with it when we were younger, and tennis is fun, but it's way harder than it looks. Hitting the ball hard over the net with a forehand, it's so hard to hit it without just sending it into space
or into the dirt, right at the net.
Yeah. So yeah, but on the women's side, it's very impressive. First time an unseeded woman's ever won Wimbledon. This Von der Sova. She was not only the first unseeded to make the final, but she pulled it off and won it. So it's pretty crazy. It's Wimbledon's been going on for over 100 years.
Yeah.
And this is the first time an unseeded woman's ever won it. So she went from being unseeded to number 12 in the world after that. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Quite the bump.
But yeah, I always love watching the majors, and that if Djokovic had won that would have been all 4 majors this year.
Wow.
It would have been the Grand Slam, and that was the first time he's lost at Wimbledon in 5 years.
The worst, He probably gets to that thinking that he's definitely going to be able to get that Grand Slam, and then,
Well, what did piss me off is that, there's still such a non-equality between women and men's tennis when it comes to, tolerance. I watched this girl, throw her racket into her fucking, her bench, and the umpire deducts a point from her. For that. And then I watched Djokovic in the final go up and fucking, I don't know if you saw it, smash his fucking racket into the side of the post.
Yeah.
He ended up hurting his wrist on that, by the way.
Oh, wow.
That was one of the reasons he lost after that, because he screwed his wrist up from hitting that. The umpire didn't even say anything to him. He did it right in front of him. And I'm like, this girl just got deducted a point yesterday in the semifinals because she threw a racket at her bench when she was walking
towards
her
bag.
Just completely smashes his racket on the side of the post in front of the guy, and the guy didn't even say anything.
Terrible.
I was just like, man, what? It took the only time that he couldn't get away with is when he turned around and rifled that ball at that girl's throat a few years ago. The Australian Open.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was absolutely hilarious. But that's enough about tennis. We're running a bit late here, but I want to cover a few more things. Women's World Cup does tee off today as well. Now that Canada is, coming off a fresh gold medal in the Olympics, very interested in this. Our division, or group, I should say, we are in a group with, we open against Nigeria tonight. and it's kind of cool. It's in Australia, New Zealand, so the times, because they're complete opposite, it works out perfect for us right now because it's being played, I think, in the morning. So we get it really late tonight. I think it's 7 o'clock. So we have a group of Nigeria, Ireland, and Australia. So we're favored to get out of the group. Look out for, obviously, this is Christine Sinclair's final tournament as the leader there. Jesse Fleming is, as far as I know, our best player. And we have ranked the number 1 goalie in the world in Kaylin Sheridan.
What's that name?
Kaylin Sheridan.
It's a good name.
You like that, eh?
Yeah.
Spelled a little bit different than yours, but she spelled it Kailen. But yeah, she's literally FIFA's number 1 ranked goalie in the world. So
wow.
I thought that was pretty cool. So go Canada on that front. We'll touch on that.
Explains why she wears number 1.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, check that out. Hopefully Canada can get out of the group there. The States have won 2 years in a row. They're looking to be the first team ever to three-peat. So that's something to watch for as well. And that girl from Brazil, Marta, she's considered one of the best players of all time, but hasn't been able to get a World Cup at this point. But also got to touch on briefly, tomorrow night is the debut of Lionel Messi for Inter Miami. They've already sold like $1 billion worth of jerseys. It's just it's incredible that you actually went there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what we were talking about this last night. He's going to be, a top end player playing a bunch of surrounded by a bunch of really super mid tier talent there. I don't know what they're going to be able to do. The MLS isn't.
Well, they're bringing in all his boys. They're bringing in his boys from like Argentina, the old guy. I think there's some rooms they're going to bring in Di Maria. I think there was
to what, coach?
Yeah, he'd be a player coach.
Yeah. Like what's his face from Ted Lasso, right?
Oh, exactly. Well, Roy Kent. Yeah,
Roy
exactly.
Kent, that's right.
He'd still probably be better than the whole team if they brought Di Maria in there right now.
Oh, yeah.
So, just about familiarity. So, yeah, something to watch for there. I do want to touch on quick. We're going to football a little bit here. CFL, usually, I used to be really into the CFL a lot when I was younger. Kind of lost touch with it a little bit in the last few years. But last year I got back into it when the Argos were making their run when they won the Grey Cup. The Argos are undefeated so far this year. I've watched every game. It's been exciting football. Very impressed with the way that team is being ran right now. Nice to see a good Canadian, Ouellette, behind us there, the big running back, long hair, white dude. Looks like he should be a fullback. But guy runs the ball hard. And then our
second most points in the league, second least amount of points against in the league.
Oh, they have 6 interceptions, against Vernon Adams Jr. And I always liked Vernon Adams. He always reminded me of Mike Vick.
Plus 59 differential. Jeez.
They're just on fire, man. They have the best defense, best offense, and it's being led by none other than Chad Kelly, the nephew of the K-Gun, Jim Kelly from Buffalo. And
Machine
Jim
Gun
Kelly.
Kelly?
Comes up. The K-Gun, baby. But he comes and watches the games. He's in the stands all the time in Toronto for his nephew, which is pretty cool. Cool story. I told you about this last night, but Chad Kelly was Mr. Irrelevant, I think, back in 2017. He was drafted by Denver, and he was, looking really good in camp. They were really liking what they were seeing from him, and then he got drunk and walked into some random person's house and fell asleep on their couch. So that was the end of his
All
NFL
you're doing
career.
is looking for a place to stay on a cold Colorado evening, and this gets you canned from your job, Rick. What kind of world are we living in?
I know, he wasn't harming anybody.
One thing I never knew, and I remember when the story came out, but one question I never asked, and I wish I should have asked this to somebody who may have known, was there a neighborhood watch sign in the window? Was he just going to what he thought was a safe house?
Oh, a block parrot, maybe.
The block parrot, that's right, yeah. He thought it was a safe house. He's new to the city. He doesn't know his way around. That's a place I can stay.
Yeah. No, it must have been. There was something that was inviting to it. I know I came home from the bar drunk one time when I was younger. I lived in the apartment, and I hit the 5th floor instead of the 7th, and I just walked right into somebody's house and, just hammered, and they were just sitting there watching TV, and I was like, oh, this is not the right apartment. Sorry about that.
Listen, I woke up in the loading bays of Cowboys, and I lived a block down the road. I don't know what the hell happened that night, but I woke up in the loading bays. So, listen, we've all had times, and we've all fallen asleep in silly places. So, I don't fault the man.
It's cool to see, though, that he did work his way back up.
Yeah.
Last year when we made our run, McLeod Bethel Thompson, he got hurt in that Grey Cup game. Chad Kelly came in the fourth quarter, played great for us. That was just a sample, but he has lived up to it. Like, he looks great. Total control of the offense. We got some good playmakers there, like Curly Gittens Jr. is a guy named to listen for. He's been really good. So nice to see that he's got the second chance there, because McLeod Bethel Thompson chose to go play in the USFL for less money. Like, it was so weird. So it just opened the door for Chad Kelly to step in. He's done a fantastic job. And they're playing the Stampeders August 4th. And my buddy has season tickets. He takes me to the Argos games every year. And I'm always the only Argos friend cheering there. So I can't wait to go this year with us being number one and Stampeders being shitty finally for like the first time in forever.
Yeah.
And, I may live in Calgary, but I don't go for those Stampeders. I'm an Argo fan for life. So looking forward to playing with that. One team that is really having a tough time, though, is the Edmonton Elk. And this team is, we got to touch on it. It's absolutely hilarious because being in Calgary, you live in Calgary, everybody hates Edmonton. So the fact that, their hockey team's great, well, not great, but way better than Calgary's at this point. But their football team is just in a shambles. This team now is 0-6 this year. I think they're 10 losses in a row dating back to last year. And they just set a North American sports record for the most home losses in a row at 20 in a row. On any sport ever, they have not won a game since 2019 at home. And this year, if you bought a ticket week 1 for the Edmonton Elk, you get in free the whole year until they win. So you can reuse that week 1 ticket. And so you could have went to 3 games now. This will be the 4th game that you can go to for free until they win. And They literally haven't won since they changed their name from the Eskimos.
And they got a minus 66 differential, worse in the league, obviously being the worst team in the league. They should have that. But that just goes to show that, like, they just don't have any glimmer of hope. I know you told me about that mistake that they had where the American player coming from college didn't know the rules and let it go over his head. And listen, here's what I'm going to say is that was just one-off play, one-off game where they maybe could have won. But the bottom line is the remaining 20 games, you're shit. You're garbage. Like I said, minus 66 differential, that's terrible.
The thing is about that claim that he didn't know about the single, because what happened for people that didn't know, the game was tied with 30 seconds to go or so, and they had just tied it. The other team kicked a field goal to tie it up, and the kicker kicked it. It dropped around the 15 to 10 yard line, and the kick returner just let it roll by him and into the end zone because he thought it'd be a touchback. They ended up losing by 1 point.
And in reality, if they had won that game, all it would be like is me handing you a shit sundae with a cherry on top and saying, yeah, but there's a cherry there.
Exactly. But the thing I have a problem with is that there was 3 single points in that game already. So are you not paying attention to the game? Like, did you not already see that the team's already got 1 point for that? Like, hello, wake up, bud. But it just goes to show when you're a bad football team, kind of like when the Lions went winless and when Cleveland did it, you just find a way to lose. Yeah. And, it just snowballs, one after another. They benched 2 quarterbacks last week. I don't even know who's starting for them tonight. They're playing the Blue Bombers tonight, and they're 15-point dogs. Like, you don't see 15-point spreads in the CFL too often.
No.
These teams are usually not evenly matched all the time, but it's not usually double digits in the CFL. And to see a 15.5-point spread is pretty crazy. So I think it's funny. They just keep losing no matter what, and these fans keep going to the games for free. So do you want to pay for the games or do you want to win? That's a tough decision there, I think. But go Argos. Been awesome to watch them. But I did want to jump into the NFL real quick, just with Barkley and Jacobs not getting paid. This running back thing that's going on right now. I know you guys probably have touched on it on going for 2. But I just remember growing up, there were so many good running backs that were getting paid.
Up until the quarterback era, when they started drafting these guys at number 1 and these massive trade packages, the biggest trade package I think that we'd ever heard of or saw was for a friggin' running back.
Yeah, it's
Puff,
true,
Ricky Puff.
It totally transitioned. Yeah, because like that, we have Ricky Williams, LaDainian Tomlinson, Priest Holmes, Jamal Lewis, Curtis Martin, Sean Alexander. Like, I feel like, we grew up in a time of running backs. Even Tiki Barber was thrown in there. Like, there were so many good running backs. Like, obviously, Eddie George.
Sean Alexander, as much as I hated his boring style.
Yeah, it's like there were so many good running backs at that point in time. And now it's like these guys can't even get paid. Like, I just, that's the crazy stat I saw. Like, going into this year, kickers are averaging more money than running backs.
And you're preaching to a guy whose team has been pound the ball for 25 years since they've been in Tennessee, and 20 years before that in Houston. So I know that the running back position does not need to die. I think that's still how you keep teams true. My worry here, how much I love my boy Derek. You know how much I love him. Okay, we just signed DeAndre Hopkins. We're probably signing Fant. All the fans say, well, that means we're going to extend either Byard or Henry in order to make the cap room work. And all I got to say is Rand Carthon is running the team right now. He comes from a team over in San Francisco that drafts running backs in the 5th round and uses them until they cannot run no more, and then drafts another one in the 5th. It's unfortunate to say I would love for him to be a one-team player, but I think same with Derrick Henry coming out and saying you might as well just retire the position at this point. Do you think Derrick Henry at 29 years old or 30 years old is going to say, I'll take a discounted contract? Absolutely not. This guy's going to want...
And he shouldn't have to.
Exactly.
He's a horse.
He's a horse. He gets the 250-plus carries every single year. He still plays hard. He's still putting up numbers. But they're going to try and sidearm him, too, the same way that they did with Barkley and with Jacobs. And another thing, I saw this, too. It was a very interesting tactic. Why in the hell did Barkley and Jacobs just come out and publicly say, this is the number that I want? Why wouldn't you, if you're sitting in the car, if you're a 10-minute walk from the main office, in your car in the parking lot, sitting with Max Crosby, waiting to sign the deal, and you guys are $1 million or $2 million off from each other, why would, at 10 o'clock in the morning, you just publicly come out and say, this is what I want? When you do that, you put the fans into the ear of the team. I know that doesn't sound like it's going to happen, but if you're sitting here squawking over $1 million at 10 o'clock in the morning, the team's going to budge, I think, if the fans get in their ear. Especially the guy who led the league. Jacobs.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Do you know who that? Josh Jacobs led the league in touches and yards last year. Okay? And, his third was Saquon Barkley. So these are guys, pretty much the top 3 touches in the fucking league. And they can't get paid. But, Patrick Mahomes just signed a $500 million contract. Like, give me a break.
Do you remember
who was asking for that much? It's like, instead he didn't want to reset the running back market.
Yeah.
And Christian McCaffrey making 15 or 16 million, whatever he makes. He even said he didn't want to do that. He probably wanted around 12. That's the number I heard. I heard 12 to 13 is what he wanted. And you can't give him this? You can, what the fuck, man? The guy is a horse for us. He finally came into his own last year. And you're not going to pay him. And Saquon Barkley, good luck. Have you seen Daniel Jones's quarterback rating without Saquon Barkley? As opposed to
good. Not good. And I love me some Danny Dimes, man. I love me some Danny Dimes.
He's got like a 77 quarterback rating when he isn't on the field.
And then
so do the math. Like, you need to pay these guys. You can't. Yeah, maybe some running backs you shouldn't pay. Maybe you can just plug and play.
Well, but
these are guys that you're not plug and playing for.
Do you remember potentially maybe who was the running back? Because I remember that there was a string of like 2 or maybe 3 running backs there back when we were younger that got the big payday and then got hurt, and this is what started this whole idea about not paying running backs and shit like that. But who was that? Because I don't even know if this I'm going to call it a stigma. I know that the running back has an incredibly short lifespan. I am of the belief at this day and age that is team driven and not because of the player's talent or what he can bring to the team still even after multiple 250-yard carry years. And the reason I say is because maybe I have a person like Derrick Henry on my team, but I just can't think of all these running backs. I try to think of running backs in the recent past that broke down immediately or really hit a wall at year 5 without the team doing it to them by drafting another player to replace them and then feeding that player and having this guy just kind of be this backup.
The only one I could really say is Zeke.
What's that?
I feel like Zeke hit a huge wall after he signed that contract.
Who is this?
Never been. Ezekiel Elliott.
Ezekiel Elliott. No, it was prior to that. No, I'm talking
What's that?
I'm thinking it was somebody... while you're putting those headphones in, I'm thinking it was somebody along those LaDainian Tomlinson, Jamal Lewis, Priest Holmes, Larry Johnson. Oh, did I lose you? You're back. Okay. Yeah, so, no, I don't think... Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, 1 sec, man.
Yeah.
Headphones died.
You got me?
What?
You good? You got me?
I got you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no, I think it was before that. Like I'm talking like Larry Johnson, like Jamal Lewis, LaDainian, like that time frame. Some running back got paid, and I don't know who it was. There's a couple of running backs, and then they got hurt and kind of fell off a cliff, and that's what started this whole trend of just dumping running backs after a couple of years. But I can't remember who it was, and it very well may have been Chris Johnson. Like he may have been one of those players that got paid, but he's still like played in Tennessee. Like he was still balling. It was when he went to New York and he didn't play very well in Arizona that like he was okay, right? But like that may be one of the players that maybe kind of set this whole contract thing up, because I remember he held out, wanted to get paid, got paid, and then like Tennessee sucked. It wasn't him. Tennessee just sucked that year, and then he went to New York and was kind of mediocre too. So. Lost you. I don't think I can hear you very well, if at all.
Sorry, I had technical difficulties. Sorry. You hear me now?
No, that's about it.
You can't hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. But yeah, I think Chris Johnson definitely was one as well. But he deserved, when you run for 2,000 yards, you deserve to get paid regardless. So it's just disappointing for me. It's just so many good guys that aren't getting paid right now, and we may end up not having two really great running backs.
Yeah, 100%. Man, I tell you, I've been running the ball as much as it's a prehistoric offense that we've got down in Tennessee. It works when you have the right wide receivers to kind of open up the plays a little bit, but running the ball can be very effective in today's NFL, man.
I think Hopkins has got lots left. I think you're guys going to be pleasantly happy with him. So I'm excited for that. Excited for you on that thing. We are going to sign out real quick here, but I did want to just touch on some fighting real quick before we get off. Obviously, the Ngannou Fury fight is official now. Pretty cool. He said he's going to make literally twice as much money in one fight than he made in his whole UFC career in this fight.
Yeah.
So I'm very anxious to see how this goes. I think he's going to get his ass kicked, but just because Tyson Fury, I've watched him box many times now, and even though you don't think he's going to be good and he looks like he's going to be slow and he looks out of shape, the guy just, he just keeps coming at you, and he's got, he just always seem to get in people's face. I don't think he's going to be able to handle, or Ngannou's actually going to be able to handle the boxing aspect of things. But
it's a different game, man. I know it's fighting, but it's a different game. Speaking of, our boys Liam and Shane are fighting, and they're going to be doing some boxing, right? And they've been doing some training recently. If anybody's watching out there, make sure you throw some donations Liam's way. This is all fighting for homelessness, to end homelessness, so it's all going to a good cause. But yeah, those guys have been putting in some real work, so I'm excited to see that.
Fighting?
Yeah, they're doing some real boxing. Yeah, they're training, and then they got like a coach that legitimately has to kind of see them over, review them, and say whether or not they're like physically fit enough to fight. Yeah, this is a real boxing match.
Who's like, is him and Chad against each other?
No. This is like a whole charity event that's happening here in London right now. Shane's doing it, so he'll have his own weight class that he's doing it in, and he's not going to be in Liam's, of course. And yeah, so they're going to be fighting some random people. They don't even know who they're fighting. Like basically right now, everybody's in training. And then you get met with this coach, and then they tell you whether or not you're physically fit enough to actually even do this whole thing. And then when that happens, you kind of, I think around that time frame, find out who you're fighting, and then it's like 3 weeks of like really hard training for that one person, and then you go at each other. So,
wow, that's crazy. Jeez, good for them. It reminds me of the old days where we used to UFC in Nate's basement. I don't know if you remember those. I don't think you ever actually did it with us, but I know you've seen it. We used to have a little crew at that point. It was like me, Kyle, Nate. Kirk came a few times, Jeremy Rusi. It was, I can't believe we did. I think back of it, I'm like, that was crazy, man. I can't believe I used to do that shit. No headshots, but it was pretty wild. I think I took a few years off my life just doing that. But UFC 291 next weekend, a huge card. We got Gaethje and Poirier for the BMF belt. This is the first time you're going to see like two main events that aren't title fights that are so intriguing. Because Jan Blachowicz is against Pereira. That's pretty much, the number one contender for the light heavyweight there. And, what's his name? Jamal Hill just had to relinquish the belt there because he tore his Achilles. So that belt's open again. There's even Stephen Wonderboy is on the undercard on that. Derek Lewis is on the undercard. Like, the card is just absolutely stacked.
Yeah.
So that's a great card to watch out for. Next week we'll do a show, and we'll definitely cover that in a little bit more in depth. My boy Brandon Moreno lost last UFC. I was really upset about that. Apparently he broke his hand in like the first round or something like that. So That was upsetting, but Volkanovski prevailed. The guy's a monster. He just keeps winning. Super impressive. But GSP, he's coming back for a fight. It's not going to be a contact fight, so it's kind of weird. But this is this new league that UFC's launching under UFC Fight Pass, and it's going to be a strictly grappling jiu-jitsu league. And there's rumors that GSP is going to be fighting Nick Diaz in this. So just anytime I get to see GSP get back in the ring, I'll probably actually enjoy it more because I won't have the stress of him getting punched in the face.
Jesus.
So that's pretty cool. Ultimate Fighter, I don't know if you've been following that at all, but Conor McGregor has just been getting his ass beat. He almost set a record for a clean sweep. He lost 7 straight weeks in a row, his fighters. And then his last hope, his 8th fighter, pulled one out, a Hail Mary knockout in Tuesday's episode. So he would have been the first person ever to lose every single fight, and they wouldn't even know what they were going to do at that point because then he would have nobody to coach going into the semifinals because he'd have no fighters. So been pretty funny to watch that. I don't know if they're actually going to fight, but there's been some good jabbing back and forth between those two guys. But it does lead me to this thing, this spectacle. Is Elon Musk actually going to fight Mark Zuckerberg? I've seen them both in training at this point already. GSP's training.
Who's the villain and who's the good guy here? Like, I want to cheer for the good guy, but the good guy tells me that everybody I think is telling me the good guy is supposed to be the Zuck. I don't think so. But I actually think Elon's going to come in here and just absolutely destroy the Zuck.
Well, this is Elon Musk has got to be the villain. I think he just kind of even has that look on his face. But it's funny, GSP's training him, and then you saw a picture of Zuckerberg training with Adesanya and with Volkanovski. Like, it seems like these guys are taking this seriously. So, he does have, I think, 13 years on him. But I heard Zuckerberg does have jiu-jitsu background. So if it does happen, I just heard that recently that they've offered for them to fight at the Coliseum. Oh, wow. That's how big they're taking this. But it'd be cool if it does happen, just to, watch these two guys go at it. But that pretty much does it for today, and we covered a lot, and definitely get back on next week.
And a little tidbit here at the very end. I just was looking it up while you were talking there. It was later than I thought, but it was Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley was the contract that unfortunately started to buckle everybody's as a running back because McVay said he'll never pay a running back twice. So that was the whole thing. Also, just as numbers, because we always talk about numbers and shit like that when we talk about new contracts in the NFL. Adrian Peterson's deal that he got back in the day when he was right after Chris Johnson got paid. Do you remember? Do you remember how big that was?
I don't remember the exact numbers.
Numbers are numbers. Like, it was a 6-year deal. You don't see very many, 4 or even 5-year deals. It's pretty much the tops now. But it was a 6-year deal, $85 million with $36 million guaranteed. Could you imagine a running back right now signing for nearly $100 million, bro? I mean, that just goes to show how far that the contracts have fallen off.
And you know what? He earned every dollar of that.
Oh, he did. And the contract, I don't think he got paid all of it, right? He made it was $14 million a year is what he got paid, which is pretty close to Christian McCaffrey. So when you think about the time frame, I mean, he really did set the bar pretty freaking high. And that's the guy that didn't
even catch passes.
Yeah, he caught passes. Yeah.
No, he didn't catch passes a lot. That's what I mean. Like, it was strictly getting paid. Like, Christian McCaffrey gets paid.
Listen, you may say he didn't catch passes, but if you look up Adrian Peterson pass catching, the first fucking replay you're going to see is that one when he smoked Ike Taylor over the middle of the field.
Oh, yeah.
Remember? And so that's the thing is you can say he didn't catch it, but that's what everybody's going to remember in their mind is that massive hit.
He had like 20 catches maybe a year. I'm just saying, like, like Christian McCaffrey's getting paid, but he's getting paid because of his ability to catch the ball. And
the most scrimmage yards in the entire NFL, right? Like, that's why he got paid, right?
Exactly. And it's just, Adrian Peterson, I mean, he went over 2,000 one year, didn't he?
He did go over 2,000, but I don't think he got the record. No, obviously he didn't get the record. Obviously, but he did go over 2,000.
He fell short, but I think he led the league in rushing twice through that contract, and I think he had a 2,000-yard season. And I remember that one game when he had like fucking 290 yards or something like that. I think he was just shy of 300
against Baltimore, I think it was, right?
Yeah.
Oh no, that was Jamal Lewis. Jamal Lewis did that against.
Yeah. Jamal Lewis was like
2097. Yeah, he did 2,097, and he led the league 3 times in his career. Twice in touchdowns, 3 times in yardage, once in carries. 327 carries he had. Woo! We had 348.
Ricky Williams Look up the 1 year Ricky Williams led the league in carries, and they want to know why the guy smoked weed.
Yeah, well, that guy deserved every bit of every ounce. I should say every bit. I was gonna say every ounce of whatever he got.
I think he had multiple years of over 300 carries.
Ricky Williams. Before we get off here, I'll just quickly look this one. He had 2, 383. Oh, that's 4. Sorry, 4. 313, 383, 392. 392 after 383 carries. He had 1,800 yards and then 1,300 yards the next year.
1,000 carries in 3 years, pretty much.
No, he did break 1,000 in 3 years. Yeah, that's crazy.
The guy got in trouble for smoking weed. You tell me after you carried the ball 400 times, you weren't be smoking a fucking joint? Like, come on. But
I've seen people carry their groceries in the house and say they got to smoke a joint. So.
Oh, and the guy just fucking every run was tough too. Like I remember those old collisions you'd have with Antoine Winfield out on the edge when Winfield was in Buffalo.
He'll always have one of Sean Martin's favorite fantasy commercials when he's doing the 40-yard dash towards the camera. I know that every time we watch that at Fatty Patty's, that man would always comment on that stupid commercial.
Yeah, I remember that.
I said he was built with horse semen, remember? That's what he was built with.
Yeah. Yeah, we love my Ricky Williams. I'll never forget the time he went to the Argos, and I was laying down and I was watching the score, and I thought I was dreaming when I heard that Ricky Williams had went to the Argonauts, and I woke up and it was actually real, and I was just like, yeah, it didn't work out as well as it should have. Unfortunately, he got hurt twice and stupid freak injuries that had happened to him, but if you look it up, I think he averaged like 5.2 yards a carry in the CFL. So.
All I know is he did really well at Texas.
Yeah, I got his jersey in the closet.
Yeah, baby.
And he had a great year with Baltimore after he left Miami. And, they wanted him to stay that year. And if he had to stay one more year, he would have won a Super Bowl. They won the Super Bowl the following year. But, coulda, woulda, shoulda. Just like Reggie Miller. There's rumors that Reggie Miller was offered, to go to Boston that year with the Celtics after he retired. And he chose not to. And same with Steve McNair. Steve McNair was really close, and also with Dan Marino. Apparently, Dan Marino was offered to come out of retirement for the Ravens when they won with Trent Dilfer, and he turned it down. So, lots of guys that had those opportunities didn't follow through on it, but they ended up winning anyways. But anyways, let you get out of here. Covered lots. It's been fun.
We did cover lots, Rick. It has been an absolute blast talking with you. So much sports. We didn't even get a chance to talk about Devils or Boston, and there was still some movement that happened there. Obviously, you had your draft over there in Montreal. We definitely got to cover that next time. But, we can only do so much in an hour, and, we're already up an hour and 15 minutes, coming up to an hour and 20. So, but, there's more for next time. So, Rick, absolute pleasure talking with you, man. You have yourself a fantastic night, brother, okay?
Sure, bud. You too, bud.
Later.